Chosen one, pay attention, lock every part of your mind onto what I am about to say, because if you look away from this message right now, you will spend the rest of this week wondering why everything kept falling apart when the answer was sitting right here. The enemy is working overtime today for one reason and one reason only. He knows what is about to be released into your life. It all ends today. The confusion, the stalling, the spiritual heaviness that has been sitting on your chest like a stone. But you need to hear this clearly. It is not ending because of luck, and it is not ending because of coincidence. It is ending because of what you have already done, because of the war you have already fought, because of the ground you refused to surrender, even when every part of you wanted to. Think back to that moment this week, when everything in you wanted to react, wanted to fire back, wanted to walk into that situation and force the outcome, but something held you still. You thought that stillness was weakness. You thought your silence meant you lost. You did not know it then, but that moment of restraint was the most powerful thing you have done all year. That was not defeat. That was the act that sealed the verdict in your favor. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment that was written into the architecture of your life before you ever drew a breath. You are standing at a threshold right now, and what you do in the next few minutes will determine whether you walk through it or walk away from it. Stay until the very last word of this message. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the legal decree that cancels the enemy's assignment against your life. I am going to walk you through the exact audit of what happened this week so you can see precisely where you won the battle, even when you felt like you were being buried. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that seals this season shut permanently. Do not look away. Your future self is begging you to stay, because if you leave this message before it finishes, you risk reopening a door that heaven has already closed on your behalf. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere has not simply been quiet, it has been dense, suffocating, like the pressure that builds in the sky right before a storm tears through everything. Maybe you were sitting alone this week, staring at nothing, and a wave of exhaustion hit you so deeply it did not feel physical. It felt like something was draining you from the inside. Or maybe you woke up at 3 inches the morning this week, wide awake, heart pounding, scanning the silence of your room, feeling that something was wrong, but having no name to put to it. Or perhaps it was something quieter than that, just a gnawing sense that you are suspended, floating in the space between the life you had and the life you were promised, and you cannot see the ground beneath you. And in that suspended place, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. Listen to it carefully so you can recognize it. He has been telling you that everything feels stalled because of something you did. He has been replaying a moment in your mind, that moment when you walked away from a situation, when you refused to engage because you had nothing left, when you stopped pushing and just let it go. He has been telling you that was the mistake. He has been telling you that your exhaustion disqualified you, that your silence forfeited your blessing, that because of what you did or failed to do, the clock has been reset and you have to start over. That is the lie. That is the specific deception the accuser has constructed to stop you from receiving what is already on its way to you. But hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Nahum 1-9 declares, "What do you conspire against the Lord? He will make an utter end of it. Affliction shall not rise up the second time." Hear that. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. The enemy wants you to believe you are in a cycle, that your actions triggered another lap around the wilderness, another season of delay, another year of waiting. But that is a deception rooted in fear, and it has no legal authority over your life. You are not in a cycle, you are in a conclusion. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of punishment, it is the weight of finality. It is the tension of something being stretched to its absolute limit right before it breaks open. The pressure you have been carrying this week is not evidence that you are losing. It is evidence that something is ending, and what comes after it is the thing you have been holding on for. That moment when you walked away was not weakness. That silence was not surrender. That exhaustion was not disqualification. That was a strategy. That was the move that heaven needed you to make. And now the verdict is ready to be read. There is a moment, and most people miss it, when heaven opens a door so quietly that only those who have been trained by suffering know how to hear it. You are in that moment right now. Not because you found this video, because this video found you. And that distinction matters more than you know. The chosen one's blueprint was written for this exact moment in your journey. 8 chapters that decode why your life unfolded the way it did, why the pain came so early, why the isolation felt so specific, and what God is activating next. You'll receive the full audiobook, so you can carry this revelation with you wherever you go, plus a powerful bonus, activating your prophet mantle, for those who sense God is preparing them to speak with authority in this generation. The link is in the first pinned comment below, but it won't stay there forever. Now stay with me, because what I am about to walk you through is not a collection of spiritual ideas. It is a mirror. And mirrors don't comfort you, they show you the truth. There is something that happens to a person who has been through enough. The world looks the same on the surface, the same sunrises, the same conversations, the same routines, but something behind the eyes has shifted. Something has been pressed into you through the weight of seasons you did not choose and struggles you did not deserve. And from the outside, it looks like weariness. But from heaven's perspective, it looks like readiness. The two look almost identical, and that is precisely why so many people mistake their preparation for their punishment. They mistake the forge for the grave. They feel the heat and assume destruction, when in truth the heat is the very thing that is hardening them into something that will last. Most people who feel stuck are not stuck because of what happened to them. They are stuck because of the agreement they made about what it meant. Something broke early, a relationship, a promise, a season of life, and in the wreckage, without anyone to guide them through the rubble, they made a silent vow. They decided something about themselves, about God, about what they deserved, and that decision, quiet as it was, became the lens through which they have interpreted every moment since. Every setback confirmed it, every delay deepened it, every unanswered prayer felt like proof. The agreement did not announce itself. It did not arrive with fanfare or declaration. It crept in through the back door of heartbreak, disguised as logic. It said, "Look at the evidence." And the evidence, at the time, seemed airtight. The relationship failed. The door closed. The person left. The prayer went unanswered. And so the conclusion felt reasonable. Something is wrong with me. Something about the way I am built is fundamentally insufficient. And that conclusion, though it felt like clarity, was actually a cage. A cage built from pain, furnished with memory, and locked from the inside. This is where the story of Elijah becomes devastating in the most instructive way. Here was a man who had just called fire down from heaven. Literal fire. He had stood alone against 450 false prophets and won. The sky had opened. The altar had been consumed. The people had fallen on their faces. And by any reasonable accounting, this was a man who should have been walking in the highest form of spiritual confidence, fully anchored in the reality of God's power and presence. And yet one threat from one woman sent him running into the wilderness, collapsing under a tree, asking God to take his life. Not because he was weak, but because he had made an agreement with exhaustion that went deeper than his bones. He had decided that his best was not enough, that his victory did not count, that he was no different from his fathers. He had taken the evidence of Jezebel's anger and interpreted it as evidence of his own irrelevance. He had allowed one voice, one single voice, to drown out everything heaven had just confirmed. And God in that moment did not argue with him. He did not rebuke him. He did not present a theological case for why Elijah should feel differently. He fed him, because before truth can enter, the body must be sustained enough to receive it. Before the mind can be renewed, the vessel must be restored. God met Elijah in the most human of needs, sleep, food, water, before he ever spoke a word about purpose. And that, in itself, is one of the most profound revelations in all of Scripture, that God is not impatient with your humanity. He is not standing over you with disappointment because you crumbled under the weight of your own calling. He is crouching beside you, touching your shoulder gently, and saying, "The journey is too great for you. Arise and eat." You have been starving yourself of rest, of grace, of permission to simply be in the middle of your process. And that starvation has made you vulnerable to agreements that were never yours to make. You have been pushing through on spiritual fumes, telling yourself that stopping is weakness, that needing is failure, that the moment you lay down your strength, everything will unravel. But Elijah laid down under that tree, and heaven did not unravel. The purposes of God did not collapse. The fire that had fallen did not unhappen. And you, in the middle of your exhaustion, in the middle of your wilderness, in the middle of the season that has pressed you to your absolute limit, you are still held. The purposes that were written for your life before you drew a single breath are still intact. Your stumbling has not disqualified them. Your doubt has not deleted them. Your exhaustion has not erased them. But here's where it goes deeper. It is not just the agreement that holds you. It is what that agreement gave you. And this is the part most people are not prepared to examine because survival carries its own identity. When you have lived long enough in a place of lack, of rejection, of spiritual warfare, and unanswered longing, you begin to build a self around enduring it. The struggle becomes familiar. The waiting becomes home. And somewhere beneath the prayers for breakthrough, there is a part of you that does not know who you are without the battle. That part is not your enemy. It is your wounded self. But it has been sitting in the driver's seat, and it is not qualified for where God is trying to take you. The wounded self is brilliant at surviving. It knows every pothole in the road, every warning sign, every pattern that preceded past pain. It developed those skills in the fire, and those skills kept you alive. But survival skills are not the same as inheritance skills. Knowing how to endure a desert does not teach you how to steward a promised land. And if you allow the part of you that was built for survival to govern the season that was built for flourishing, you will find a way to reconstruct the wilderness inside the very blessing God has opened to you. What most people don't realize is that the wilderness was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be preparatory. But when we make our home there, when we decorate the desert instead of passing through it, we turn a season of formation into a sentence of limitation. We hang pictures on the walls of what was supposed to be a temporary shelter. We learn the names of the thorns and start to feel affection for them. We find community in shared suffering and mistake that community for confirmation that we belong in the hard place. And heaven cannot override a will that has chosen comfort in captivity. God will not drag you into freedom. He will stand at the edge of the wilderness and call and call and call again. But the walking, the choosing, the releasing of what has become familiar that is yours to do. Stay with me, because what's coming next is where most people finally see themselves for the first time. Think about what it cost you to keep going. Think about the version of you that existed 5 years ago, 10 years ago, in the middle of what felt like the worst season of your life. Think about the prayers you prayed in rooms where no one could hear you, not just prayers of faith, but prayers of desperation, prayers that were barely words at all, more like groaning, more like the sound a person makes when they are running out of breath but refuse to stop swimming. The faith you held on to when every circumstance told you to let go, when the diagnosis came, when the relationship ended, when the money ran out, when the dream looked like it had died completely. The times you showed up for others when you yourself were barely standing, when you poured out encouragement you were not sure you believed, when you prayed for someone else's breakthrough while yours felt impossibly distant. That was not weakness. That was not foolishness. That was not the behavior of someone who was wasting their life. That was divine preparation disguised as survival. God was not absent in those moments. He was not watching from a distance with detached interest. He was present in the very fiber of each moment, working in the material of you, pressing things in, pulling things out, forming something in the darkness that could not have been formed in the light. There are things that only get built in the dark. Roots grow downward, not toward the sun. The deeper a tree pushes its roots into the earth, the taller it can eventually rise, and the less it is moved when the storm comes. You have been building roots. You have been going down, and down, and down, when every part of you longed to go up. But the depth that was forged in that descent is the very thing that will hold you steady in the heights you are about to be given. Because what is built in suffering has a weight to it, a gravity, a depth. Things that come easily can be taken easily, but what cost you something, what required your tears, your sleepless nights, your broken prayers, your stubborn insistence on getting back up one more time, that is not easily moved. That is not a structure built on sentiment or spiritual excitement. That is a foundation. And God does not build on surfaces. He does not build on emotion or enthusiasm, because emotion ebbs and enthusiasm fades. He builds deep. He builds in the places where no one is watching and nothing seems to be happening, because those are the places where the work is actually done, where the character is formed, where the gold is refined, where the person is made into someone who can carry what heaven intends to place in their hands. And this leads us to something most people miss entirely. You have been praying for God to change your circumstances. You have been asking Him to move the mountain, to shift the situation, to rearrange the external so that your internal might find some peace. And that prayer is not wrong. God does move mountains. But there is a prayer you have not been praying, or perhaps have not known how to pray, and it is this: God, change me through this. God, use what I am in to make me into what I am called to be. God, let this season accomplish in me what only this season can accomplish. Because the truth, the inconvenient, uncomfortable, utterly liberating truth, is that God has been using your circumstances to change you, not to punish you, not to abandon you, not to prove that you are somehow less worthy than the people around you whose lives appear to be moving forward while yours appears to be standing still. He has been using the very thing you have been begging Him to remove as the instrument of your formation. And there is a version of you standing just on the other side of this season who looks back at every hard thing and says, I understand now, not because the pain was justified, not because God orchestrated cruelty for the sake of a lesson, but because the purpose was real, and purpose does not explain itself until you are strong enough to carry the explanation. You will understand on the other side what could not be understood in the middle, and the middle is exactly where you are. This is where it gets confrontational, and I need you to stay open, because this next layer is where transformation either happens or it doesn't. There is something you have been protecting that has a holy name, but an unholy function. You have named it something spiritual, something that sounds like maturity, something that sounds like you have simply learned from your experience. You have been calling it discernment, but it is distrust. It is the wound of betrayal wearing the language of wisdom. You have been calling it wisdom, but it is fear wearing the garment of experience. It is the old pain that has memorized enough scripture to sound like discernment, while still keeping you at a distance from every good thing God is trying to bring near. You have been saying you are waiting on God, but if you are honest, truly honest, you have been waiting on certainty. You have been waiting for a sign so clear, a confirmation so unmistakable, a guarantee so airtight, that stepping forward would require no courage at all. And faith, by its very nature, cannot function in the presence of certainty. Certainty has no need of faith. Faith only moves in the space where certainty cannot reach, in the gap between the promise and the proof, in the distance between the word God spoke and the evidence your eyes can see. This means that every time you waited for proof before you stepped forward, you were not exercising faith, you were negotiating with it. You were saying to God, I will trust you as soon as you make this safe. And God, in his patience, was saying back, the trust has to come before the safety. That is what makes it trust. Think of Peter walking on the water. The invitation came in the middle of the night, in the middle of a storm, from a figure that the disciples initially thought was a ghost. Everything about that moment was designed to produce fear. And yet Peter said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come. And Jesus said one word, come, not come. And here is a full explanation of the physics I am about to suspend on your behalf. Not come, and here is a guarantee that you will not sink. Just come. Step out. Move toward me. And Peter did. And for a moment, a stunning, history-making, absolutely miraculous moment, a human being walked on water. Not because of Peter's faith, and not in spite of his doubt, but in the tension between the two, in the place where he chose to move anyway. The moment he fixed his eyes on the storm rather than the one who called him, he sank. Not because the storm got worse, because his attention shifted. And attention is agreement. Whatever you keep your eyes on long enough, whatever you give your sustained focus and your sustained thought, you are ultimately agreeing with. You have been agreeing with the storm so long you have forgotten that you were the one who stepped out of the boat in the first place. You stepped out. That was you. That was faith. That was courage. The storm did not initiate, you did. And what that means is that the capacity is still in you. The stepping out is not gone. The water walking is not over. You simply need to redirect where your eyes are fixed. Coming up the hidden route beneath all of it, the thing you have never named, and naming it is what finally breaks it. There is a grief you have never fully processed. Not the kind of grief that announces itself with tears and ceremony, not the kind that the people around you recognized and offered condolences for, but a quieter kind. A grief that wore the costume of confusion, or of anger, or of spiritual drought. A loss that did not look like loss at the time. Maybe it looked like failure, or rejection, or a door that closed before you were ready, or a relationship that should have been life-giving but became life-draining, but underneath it, something in you mourned. Something in you said, this was supposed to be different. There was a version of your life that you had imagined, or perhaps that God had whispered into your spirit, and when that version did not materialize on the timeline you expected, something in you quietly grieved its absence. And because no one saw that grief, because it did not look like grief from the outside, because you were expected to be strong, and to bounce back, and to trust God, and to keep moving, you carried it forward instead of releasing it. You folded it into yourself, and it became a filter. It became the silent editor of every new opportunity, the quiet voice that reviewed each new possibility and flagged it as a risk. Every time something good approached, that unprocessed grief whispered, don't get too close, don't believe too deeply. You know how this ends. And you listened, not because you were faithless, but because that voice sounded like protection. It sounded like the voice of experience. It sounded like someone looking out for you, but it was grief talking. And grief is not a prophet. That grief was not a sign that God abandoned you. It was not evidence that you were naive to believe, or foolish to hope, or too simple to read the signs. It was a sign that you were made for something worth grieving over. Small people don't grieve deeply. People who were built for ordinary things don't feel the loss of the extraordinary at a frequency that keeps them awake at 3 in the morning. People with great callings feel loss at a frequency that others cannot understand, and they often interpret that sensitivity as a flaw, when in truth, it is the very indicator of the depth of their design. Your sensitivity is not your weakness. It is not a character defect that needs to be corrected before God can use you. It is evidence of your capacity. It is proof that you were built to hold more, to feel more, to carry more, to impact more than the average life was designed to contain. And God does not give capacity without intention. He does not create deep wells and then leave them unfilled. He digs to the depth of what he intends to pour. But here is the layer beneath even that, and this is the one that breaks the cycle completely. The real block has never been your past. It has never been the people who hurt you, or the doors that closed, or the seasons that felt like punishment, or the prayers that seemed to bounce off the ceiling and fall back to earth unanswered. Those things were painful. Some of them were profoundly unjust. Some of them left marks that took years to begin to heal. But they were not the lock. The real block, the one hiding in plain sight, the one wearing your own face, has been your relationship with your own readiness. You have been waiting to feel ready. You have been standing at the edge of the next thing, looking into it with genuine longing, genuine faith, genuine desire to step forward, and then looking back at yourself and deciding that you are not yet enough, not yet healed enough, not yet strong enough, not yet clear enough, not yet delivered enough. You have been waiting to feel worthy. And this is the most tender part of everything I am saying to you, because the waiting did not come from laziness or rebellion. It came from a deep and honest humility that got twisted somewhere along the way. The humility that said, "I don't want to step into something I'm not ready for," became, over time, "I will never be ready enough." The discernment that said, "I want to honor God with my timing," became, over time, "I will wait forever, because forever feels safer than the risk of stepping out and failing again." But readiness is not a feeling. It is not a state you arrive at through enough healing or enough prayer or enough preparation. It is a decision. It is an act of the will that says, "I do not have everything I would wish to have, but I have the one thing that matters, the Word of God over my life, and the presence of God going with me, and that is enough to take the next step." And worthiness was never something you were supposed to earn. It was not a level you were supposed to reach through sufficient suffering or sufficient sanctification. It was something you were sealed with before your name was written on this earth, before the foundations were laid, before the stars were set in place, before you ever drew a breath or made a choice or failed at anything. The worthiness was settled before you arrived, and nothing that has happened since then has unsealed it. Moses did not feel ready at the burning bush. He had been in the wilderness for 40 years, not 40 days, 40 years tending sheep, living in obscurity, presumably convinced that whatever he might have been meant to be, that season was long behind him. He had seen his best intentions produce catastrophic results. He had watched his people suffer from a distance and been powerless to stop it. He was 80 years old, and when God appeared to him in the burning bush, in the most dramatic divine encounter in the Hebrew Scriptures, Moses' first response was not confidence. It was not readiness. It was not, "Lord, I have been waiting for this moment." It was 5 consecutive arguments for why God had the wrong person. Who am I that I should go? What if they don't believe me? I am not eloquent. Please send someone else. 5 reasons, 5 deflections, 5 ways of telling God that the calling did not match the man, and God did not argue with his inadequacy. He did not present a counter case for why Moses was more qualified than he thought. He did not point to Moses' education in Pharaoh's palace or his years of patience in the wilderness. He simply said, "I will be with you." That was the only qualification that mattered. Not Moses' ability, not his confidence, not his history, not his eloquence or his clarity or his sense of worthiness, just the presence of God going with him into what he could not face alone. Because when God goes with you, your inadequacy becomes irrelevant. When God goes with you, your past becomes preparation and not disqualification. When God goes with you, the thing that seemed impossible becomes the evidence of divine power, and that evidence becomes the testimony that changes the people around you. You are not waiting on God. You have been waiting, praying, seeking, longing, crying out, but God is not the one causing the delay. God has been waiting on you to stop waiting on yourself. He has been waiting for you to release the requirement that you feel sufficient before you step forward. He has been waiting for you to lay down the measuring stick you have been using to assess your own readiness, a measuring stick that was never given to you by heaven, but was pressed into your hands by every voice that ever told you that you were not enough. And here is the final thing, the thing that reframes everything you just heard. The door you have been standing outside of, knocking on, praying over, believing for, fasting about, crying beside in the dark hours of the morning, it is not locked. It has never been locked. You have been standing at a door that you believed required permission from people who were never given the key. You have been waiting for approval from voices that were never assigned to authorize your destiny. You have been looking for a green light from sources that were never positioned in your lane. The key was placed in you, not in a pastor's assessment of you, not in a parent's approval of you, not in the validation of a community that may not have had the eyes to see what heaven placed inside of you. The key was placed in you. It was placed there in the difficulty. It was placed there in the delay. It was formed in you through every season you thought was stripping you down and leaving you with less, when in truth, it was stripping away what was never meant to go where you were going. Every relationship that ended was removing something that would have become a weight in the next season. Every door that closed was protecting you from a room that would have contained your greatness in a space too small for it. Every season of waiting was forming in you a patience and a depth and an authority that cannot be manufactured by shortcuts. You were not being emptied, you were being refined. And refined things do not look like they did before they entered the fire. They look like what they were always meant to be. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not too late, and you are not too broken, and you are not too far gone, and you are not too old, and you are not too damaged, and you are not too much of a contradiction between who you have been and who God has declared you to be. You are precisely positioned for a breakthrough that has been building since before you were born. A breakthrough that was architected in eternity and is now being constructed in time, using the very materials that your pain produced. And the only thing left, the only thing that remains between where you are and where God has always intended you to be, is for you to stop rehearsing your limitations and start inhabiting your calling. Stop reviewing the evidence against yourself and start standing on the evidence of God's word. Stop letting your history write the forecast for your future. The past is not a prophet, it is a record. And records can be broken. Place your hand on your heart right now and declare this with me. I release every agreement I made in the dark that I never consciously chose. I release the grief I carried as identity. I release the fear I dressed up as wisdom. I release every label that was placed on me by people who could not see what heaven sees. I am not behind. I am being positioned. I am not forgotten. I am being formed. I step forward now, not because I feel ready, but because God said go. My breakthrough is not coming. It is already here, already moving, already making a way through what I could not navigate alone. I am chosen. I am sealed. And I walk into this next season knowing that every step I take is covered, every void is being filled, and every door that is meant for me will open at the sound of my obedience. This is my moment, and I will not waste it.